my eldest son has to sacrifice a hell of a lot for his younger brother. And that split just feels like a lot.
How do I stop snacking late at night? It's as if I wrote this question.
Carbs aren't evil. They actually fuel your body and they make you feel good and happy. Even on my Instagram, I try my best to like showcase that you can do no cooked meal preps that require no cooking, that you can literally whip up in 2 seconds.
One of the most meaningful parts of your work is Beyond the Boundary,
Yes.
an autism awareness organisation that you founded with your partner, Dean.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about how that started?
You feel really exhausted and emotionally broken when people are looking at you and judging you as a parent because they're not understanding that your child's not actually misbehaving. They're having sensory overload and they are having a moment that they cannot control. You don't have to be restrictive. You don't have to eliminate anything from your diet in order to be healthy. It's all about moderation. Yeah. I promised myself I wouldn't get emotional talking about all this.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Smile the Makeover Scoop. Today, we are sitting down with Stefania Del Mastro. She's a certified nutritionist, founder of Beyond the Boundary, content creator in the health and wellness space, and of course, she is a wife and mum of 2. She is known for her honest approach to health, food, family, and self-love. And so today, we're going to talk about all things health and nutrition, body image and comparison culture, her autism advocacy work, and of course, her amazing Smile Makeover with Dr. D. So without further ado, let's get into this episode. Steph, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
We are so excited to have you here. You wear so many different hats, right?
Yeah.
You're a mum, you're a nutritionist, you're a founder, you're a content creator. But beneath all of that, who is Steph when no one's watching?
I mean, I think that pretty much summarizes me up. I think my most important hat, of course, is being a mum.
Yeah.
And I wear that with extreme pride. And obviously I'm a wife, like you said, I'm a nutritionist and everything else in between. But I don't really know. I feel like I'm on, do you know those memes where it's like, would you rather stand up and give a fact about yourself or be burned alive? And I feel like I'm definitely picking number 2. But I mean, I'm just all of those things, and I think they're equal parts of my identity. And that's pretty much it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What does a typical day in your life look like? Juggling motherhood, nutrition clients, content?
It is mayhem. My life is chaos, but it's organised chaos. My day, I wake up, I make kids' lunches.
Yeah.
I do school drop-off. I come back. I normally am then working and cramming for like the first half of the day. And then I'll try and do a bit of a film content in the middle of the day, and then I'll wrap up some more nutrition work, and then it's school pickup, and, then it's dinner, and if I can get to the gym, that's also great.
Yep.
But, bedtime and, rinse, repeat every day. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. We often hear about balance. What does balance look like in your life?
That's something that I think I've always really struggled with. I think my life is not typical. Obviously, I have some challenges that are thrown my way that, not every day looks the same. I literally can wake up and just have to figure it out as I go. But I think through this journey and through my, self-discovery as a business owner, as a mother, I'm really trying to find the quiet moments to find the balance for myself, because I do wear a lot of hats, like you mentioned, and I was finding myself getting really burnt out for a long time. So I've made more of a point this year to prioritise myself a little bit and take a bit of time out and listen to my body, whether it mean going for a solo walk, having a facial, just having a coffee with a friend. I make sure that I make those points to make time for myself because, I wasn't doing that for a really long time, and it was burning me out. So, that is how I work, and I'm a perfectionist and I push, but finding the balance can be a struggle when you wear so many hats. But I'm learning how to make those small changes towards that now.
Absolutely. And food obviously is a huge part of who you are.
Yeah.
And a big part of your life, but you've turned that passion into a profession where you help others understand what they're putting into their bodies in order to lead a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
But it's also something that's deeply emotional for you. And I read that you grew up around restaurants. Your dad ran a famous Italian restaurant, Panini, on Sydney Road. Is that what sparked your love for cooking?
I mean, I think culturally the exposure to food has always been there. Obviously, my family are immigrants. So, you know, I think the way that we carry our culture is mainly through food. And my dad was obviously a cook and, you know, a restaurateur, and I was brought up around all that. So I think, that was the initial love of what I do, and watching him love what he does so much obviously just bled through to me.
Did you ever work in the restaurant?
No, I was too young. I slept there a lot.
Yeah.
Along with all the chairs on the
nights.
floor. But no, I was too young. I didn't work in the restaurant. I just used to get paid pocket money to, you know, set up the pizza boxes, fold the napkins, but that's it.
Cute. I love that. I read that when you were young, your father suffered a stroke and you learnt to cook to help your parents, but more so for your dad because you knew how much he loved it.
Yeah. I promised myself I wouldn't get emotional talking about all this. I think just seeing Dad, you know, that was his craft, and obviously when he had a stroke he became paralysed on his right side, which was obviously his dominant hand. Like, you know, I always watched him cook and whatever, but I think I had to be more involved in that process obviously to help him cook, and that was just a part of who he was, and I didn't want him to lose that. So it was a nice bonding thing that we did together as well. So,
of course.
Yeah.
Now, a big part of your ethos and your mantra with food is that food is not the enemy.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I want you to unpack it a little bit more for us. Talk to us about your approach to food.
I think a lot of people, and I'm generalising here, like, you know, I think a lot of people in the health industry, specifically nutritionists, dietitians, we all come from a background of some sort of distorted eating, or have a history of, you know, maybe a poor relationship with food that kind of sparks the drive for us to pursue health and to educate others on what, you know, a healthy and balanced diet actually looks like. So for me, growing up, you know, I had a really poor relationship with food myself. From my generation, there wasn't much exposure to health and learning how to eat properly. And, you know, there was a lot of, I grew up in the 90s. So, you know, that skinny era and, you know, the restrictive diets, the fad diets and all of those things that I partook in made me realise that, you know, it's not a way to live. So, it goes full circle, doesn't it? I just want to make sure that everybody understands that, you know, food isn't the enemy. You can have a well-balanced diet. You don't have to be restrictive. You don't have to eliminate anything from your diet in order to be healthy. It's all about moderation and fueling your body ultimately at the end of the day.
Absolutely. What's one myth that you wish that you could permanently delete or eliminate from diet culture? Because there is so much out there
that most people in my industry wish was never existent. It's just the carbohydrate thing, I think. You know, and like going back to the last question, you know, when I was a teenager, you know, I thought that was the way you had to diet was by eliminating carbohydrates, and all it did was underfuel me, made me tired, made me cranky. I was always hungry, and obviously, like, that is just not a way to live. Longevity-wise, you can't sustain a diet like that, and I wish that people understood that, you know, carbs aren't evil. They actually fuel your body and they make you feel good and happy.
Absolutely. Oh, God, I love my carbs, and especially coming from, you know, European cultures too. Carbs are a huge part of our diet, right?
It's it would be the hardest thing for me to say that I can't eat pasta. So.
If you told Nonna or something you couldn't eat pasta or bread, forget it.
Yeah.
You've spoken very honestly on social media about the pressure to look a certain way, and especially as someone in the fitness space.
Yeah.
And there was a particular experience that you went through that shaped you. Can you share the moment that triggered your fixation on weight loss and kind of what happened after that?
I feel like it was like a build-up for a really long time. I think when you look a certain way, you have an expectation placed upon you regardless. And I think being in this industry, that pressure is exasperated quite a lot. You have to look a certain way, and I felt like, you know, you have to have a certain percent of muscle and body fat and, always have to be active. And that's a really hard thing to have to live up to constantly. Although it is natural for me to be that way inclined because I've always been athletic. I've always done sports and always been in the gym. I think that added pressure kind of added to everything else that I had already been feeling. But, late teenager, early 20s, it was a specific celebrity and she was just the ideal, she was my idea at the time of the perfect body image and everything, and I did become fixated on that. And I found myself, going to the gym excessively for hours on end, doing ridiculous amounts of cardio because I knew that obviously enough about it then that, if I worked out more than the calories I was consuming, that number would eventually go down. But that was completely false, and that all that did was completely hinder my self-image and made me a little bit obsessive, and it was just unrealistic. It was never going to happen, and I didn't want to continuously compare myself to something that, number one, wasn't achievable, and I wanted to preserve my own confidence in a way that I could look at myself and be happy with where I was.
Yeah. So. Can you talk to us a bit more about the impact that had on your mental and physical health? Oh,
it was hugely. It affected me in ways where, I had I had an eating disorder. Obviously we spoke about obsession, and it affected me in the sense where it really blew my confidence completely out. I just didn't feel confident anymore. And it really gave me a lot of negative self-talk and self-image. It took me a really long time to recover from that. And it wasn't just that specific moment. That was a huge moment, but I think it takes years. I think people underestimate how long it takes to rewire your brain. If something's a habit, it takes ages to break. So ultimately it was just, a vicious cycle, and it affected my mental health and it affected my self-image tremendously.
And you were saying that you had been training in the gym for years and you grew up weight training and stuff like that. So I guess just with the disordered eating pattern as well, you probably didn't even have enough energy to even train properly, right?
No, I didn't at all. Things that I know in hindsight now, obviously, being a nutritionist, I was intaking far less calories that I required and burning off more than I was consuming. So I was running on empty all the time, which is not good for your brain regardless. When you're already fragile, being in that position where, you're running on empty and you're chasing a number that's unrealistic, it's always going to be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And that change and journey then that you underwent to get to where you are now, what helped you shift your mindset and start rebuilding your strength?
Honestly, it took a really long time, and I honestly think I was still probably not my best until I became a mum, and I think it was the pivotal point for me to realise, you are an example. And my mental health was being so severely affected by that, that it wasn't bringing out the best in me, and I felt like my focus was to be a good mum and a good role model. Regardless of the gender of your children, it should not matter. You are modelling behaviour for your children. So I wanted to just obviously set a good example, and it was just a fixation when I could have been pouring all my energy and happiness into my family and other areas of my life.
Yeah. We were talking before about, the pressure to kind of show up and always be online, and particularly in your space as well, where a lot of the work that you do is being on social media. You have to put yourself out there and constantly create content. How do you manage that pressure, and particularly in the wellness space where sometimes it can be a bit toxic?
I'm actually really good at it, to be completely honest. It's a strong suit of mine. I honestly don't spend a lot of time on social media. I think that is my advantage. I think a lot of people presume that, you're always, if you are in, if you're in the content space, that you spend so much time. Like, I literally do my job. I post what I have to post, and I look at everything that I need to in regards to my work, and then I clock off. I really have to disassociate from that world, and I try my best to be as authentic as possible, and I'm very confident in who I am and what I portray, because it's who I am. So I think that's the only way that I go about it, is just not making it my be all and end all, and having, the ability to remove myself when I need to.
Absolutely. I saw that you posted on one of your stories the other day that you took a recent mental health break from social media. What led to that decision?
I need to occasionally. I think that the pressure in general to show up when a lot of things in the background aren't 100%, I'm sure we're going to touch on it, but my youngest son, Rio, is autistic. And that requires a lot of touch point. I think I don't always lead on how difficult moments in my life can be. So, oh my God.
It's okay.
When you're running several businesses, you're running a household, you're trying to make sure your kids are happy. I've got more than one child. Like my eldest son has to sacrifice a hell of a lot for his younger brother. And that split just feels like a lot of the time.
You're a superwoman. I mean, you're doing it all, right?
It doesn't always feel that way, you feel like the balance, there's like always a shift to the left or the right. You never feel like you're fulfilling one role wholeheartedly. It's the reality of motherhood anyway. And when, us women, when we are business owners or career women or whatever it may be, that hat of being a mother never goes away. That is always a role that's there.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'll sacrifice anything I have to make sure that my children are okay. But that doesn't mean that the other side doesn't hurt, when you have to give up a lot of your work in order to be present in other areas, it hurts. So I think having the power to step away when I need to focus on the area that needs me the most is all I can do.
And I think I commend you and huge kudos to you for being able to be that self-aware, to actually disassociate and to remove yourself from that too, because I think other creators, and particularly people who are constantly online, then do get so sucked in.
Yeah.
So sucked into that. And it ends up then damaging other areas of their life too, because they're just so focused on trying to portray this perfect sort of image online, like you said. It's impossible, right? To try and do it all.
It is impossible. And I think that's something that I've always prided myself on. I've always showed the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm never going to show in between. It was actually really funny. Someone once said to me, it wasn't meant to be like a backhanded comment, but it ended up being a backhanded comment. Like someone once said to me, I feel like you try really hard to be relatable, but to hide that, but you're actually quite privileged. And I found that really confusing, like a really confusing comment, because I don't think the person that said that to me was trying to be insulting. I think that they were trying to imply like I am relatable, which I believe that I am. I've never lived a privileged life. My parents are immigrants. Like I said, my mum and dad came here not understanding any English. And, I got my first job at 13, worked really, really hard to get to where I am, go through school, go through uni, whatever it may be. And I think because people I think in journeys of business in general, people think you get to the end result without all the stepping stones in between. And I might be in a position where, I'm okay now, but I had to go through all the mud and trench through everything to get to the point that I'm at now. So I think I am super relatable because I've literally been through anything you can imagine and whatever you can throw at a person. And I'm not afraid to show that on my social media, because it's not a highlight reel by any means. I don't live
for sure
that life.
And there's a lot of people that love obviously all the content you put out, and particularly all your health and nutrition content, because we put a call out to our listeners and we had a bunch of questions come through. And so we thought we'd do a bit of an AskStef segment. We had a question come through from Tash, and she said, gut health is everywhere right now, from podcasts to TikTok, but there's so much conflicting information. What's one simple thing people can actually do daily to support their gut?
I mean, obviously diet is everything, and obviously I think it's just I think there's so much misinformation because people go to every extreme. I think that it's just going back to the basics, eating 5 meals a day, if that's if you're hungry enough to eat 5 meals a day, getting all your veggies in, getting all your fruit in, ensuring that you get adequate protein, 100 grams minimum of protein a day. Include your carbohydrates. These are just the most simple and fundamental rules of nutrition that everybody should be instilling. I think, there's all this stuff about processed food. Obviously, that should be something you consume in moderation. And I think people just completely skip the most important part is making sure that you drink enough water. The body,
I don't drink enough water.
No one does.
I'll admit that.
The body just detoxifies itself. It's its job. And without water, it can't do that. I think going on all these extreme diets to try and, achieve what is just the basic thing of having a well-rounded diet and including all your vitamins, nutrients, macro and micronutrients is just the fundamental rule of health.
Yeah.
So
we had another question. Laura said, how do I stop snacking late at night? It's as if I wrote this question. I eat pretty well during the day, but as soon as 9 p.m. hits, I'm raiding the pantry, asking for a friend.
A lot of people have this problem, and it's honestly 90% of the time one thing that they're not eating enough during the day. So that is the main cause, and I know that you're probably looking at me like, I don't eat enough during the day and I binge at night. A lot of people don't eat enough during the day. Then there's other triggers, obviously, like emotional eating, habit eating. Yep. Lack of sleep contributes to late night cravings as well. When you're not sleeping well, obviously the body runs low on energy and you're craving things like sugar, carbohydrates to try and pick you up. They're the main contributors. I think it just depended on the person. You need to come and discover the source and the root of the problem. It can be something as simple as not eating enough during the day, or it could be the extreme of an emotional attachment to eating at particular times at night. Obviously, when everything's quiet and you're alone, or if you have children and they go to bed, it's a minute to yourself, and that's when you find yourself in those situations. So I think finding the root and the cause of your late night snacking is the most important thing to do.
Great advice.
Which one do you fit into?
Maddie asked, can what we eat really affect our teeth and gums long term, or is that a myth?
It's not a myth. It can indeed. Obviously, your teeth, let's talk about teeth first. It comes down to your vitamins, and if you are low in vitamin D or, you're low in calcium, vitamin C, collagen, these are all things that contribute to gum and teeth health. So obviously vitamin D contributes to the strength of your teeth. So if you're not getting enough of that from your food, from obviously fruit, veg, dairy, oily fish, that will all contribute to the strength and your gums. And then there is the opposite where, depends on your oral hygiene, because there is bad bacteria that can go down your digestive tract and into your stomach, and that can affect your stomach, and vice versa. It can have an adverse effect. So what you eat impacts basically every aspect of your health.
Absolutely. I know we often think about the things that we can see really clearly, like blue flavoured, lollies or drinks and stuff like that. And we always say, Mum used to tell me growing up, that's bad for your teeth, it stains your tongue, but it's sometimes those other hidden things that, can also affect hidden sugars and stuff in things. We've had a question from Josh. We've had a guy write in. Look at that. He said, I want to eat healthier, but I'm honestly overwhelmed by meal prep, macros and all the rules. What's a realistic first step for someone who's busy and doesn't want a full life overhaul?
I think that's the roadblock with 90% of the clients that I find. I think everybody starts off really strong meal prepping, and obviously life gets in the way and they don't prioritise that anymore. I think the realistic thing is, I think having breakfast prepped is probably the most fundamental thing. You get up and that is there waiting for you, because I know that a lot of people don't like eating breakfast, but I think it becomes a domino effect. Once you haven't eaten breakfast, it gets to lunchtime, you haven't prepped lunch, I'm going to order lunch out. Then you get home late from work and it's whatever's the easiest thing to be, the easiest accessible food item around. I think the easiest thing is to make sure you have breakfast ready to go, at least have a plan for the week. And I think if you don't want to prep, at least having the food available in your fridge so that you can't actually fail. I think a lot of people set themselves up for failure because they don't have anything around that can be made into a healthy meal. It doesn't have to be that difficult. Like even on my Instagram, I try my best to showcase that you can do no cook meal preps. that require no cooking that you can literally whip up in 2 seconds. I've even made suggestions of things that you can go to the supermarket and whip up on the spot. I think it comes down to priority, and I think there's always a plan B. If meal prep isn't for you, at least prep for the day. And get through that day. People can always make a larger portion at dinner and prep half and store it in the fridge, and that's their lunch for tomorrow or dinner for tomorrow. I think there's a lot of loopholes that people look for, but there's always a way to be organised and have a meal available that's going to keep them on track.
Absolutely. I mean, even myself, meal prep is one of the hardest things. And like you said, I get into the mindset where it's I'm going to meal prep and I've got all my cute containers and everything's ready to go, and then I fall off the wagon. Yeah. And then I end up, as you said, ordering takeout. Then you end up just, as you said,
self-sabotaging at the end of the day. And I personally don't love meal prepping for a week. I'll do 2 or 3 days and then I'll do another 2 or 3 days. That's another way you can do it, is just prep for a couple of days, because people get bored as well.
Yeah.
At least you've hit the 2 days, and then if you need to change the menu or whatever it may be, you can then do the next 2 days.
You mentioned about breakfast prep.
Yes.
What do you mean by that? What's an easy breakfast prep? Because in the morning I get up and I make my scrambled eggs, but I'm rushing before work, like you said, where it's quickly whip something up because I've read how important breakfast is. I used to go for a very long time and not have breakfast.
I think that's really it's subjective in the sense where, for instance, my husband kills me. He doesn't eat breakfast.
Yeah.
He's one of those people that he can't eat when he wakes up. And I know that's the case for a lot of people. And I think there's a small percentile of people that actually can do that and not sabotage their day. The easiest things to prep is overnight Weet Bix, where you can prep 2 days or 3 days in advance, overnight oats, and then you can even prep bacon and egg McMuffins.
Oh, yum.
It's easy. You can just wrap them in, foil.
Have you got a video on that?
I don't, but I can.
Please
I
make
might
one.
Actually. I've made so many recipes.
Say, if you go on, we'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah. But there's always a way around it. Most things are preppable these days.
Mm-hmm. We've had a question from Emily, and she said, I keep feeling bloated after meals, but I'm not sure what's triggering it. Do I have to do an elimination diet to figure it out, or is there a simpler way to know if I've got food intolerances?
I mean, simply speaking, there isn't much that you can do. You can always take notes. I feel like it depends on how intuitive you are with your eating. Mm-hmm. If you're finding that you're eating a particular food or a particular meal and you're being triggered by that meal, chances are it's going to be something in that meal that's making you feel unwell. Obviously, you can go and have tests done, but they're not always a pleasant way to go about it. But I think elimination diets work in the sense where even if it's something as simple as having a food journal, you have access to MyFitnessPal and things like that, where you literally have to list ingredients. So if you're not wanting to do a specific elimination diet, you can always go through a process of elimination and notice this is the trend over the course of a week. I've included this ingredient this many times this week and it's happened this. Yeah. But unfortunately speaking, sometimes it can be the most minute thing, and an elimination diet is necessary.
Yeah, that's been one of the things I have personally struggled with too. But to your point, I've just had to be really vigilant to write down what I'm eating, and then noticing sometimes it's not the entire meal. Sometimes it's a specific ingredient in the meal that's triggering me, like onions I know is no good for me, right?
I think it's a lot of people,
Yeah, so it's those hidden things sometimes, yes. Yeah. The last question is from Bianca, and she said, I've got 2 young kids and I'm trying to teach them healthy eating habits, but I don't want to make food a big deal or cause issues later. Any tips on how to encourage healthy eating in young kids without turning it into a thing?
I mean, I have a really strange, maybe taboo stance on this sort of thing. I think that exposure to all foods is really necessary for children at all ages. I think when you put a negative spin on any type of food, obviously can be impacting as they grow up. I think that's from my generation speaking, we were taught that, for example, any form of sweet, any form of ice cream, any form of carbohydrates. And I think that's why, my generation in particular, the millennial generation, has such a stigma towards certain foods because we grew up that way. So I think just the exposure of constantly showing them, you are modelling what you eat. My kids eat not Rio, but my kids eat what I eat, and they see what I eat, and it's just, I've never force-fed them because I don't believe in force-feeding. I think that can have an adverse effect on children as well. Mm. They're never going to learn when they're full. They're never going to understand, I need to stop eating because I feel full. They won't understand food boundaries as well. But I think just, whether they eat it or not, you always present the plate with the food that you would like them to eat. There's no pressure. I think with anything in life, exposure is the greatest tool. I didn't like vegetables when I was growing up. My dad still put it on my plate.
Yeah.
And as an adult, that's probably one of my favourite things to eat. And it just happens naturally. I think the more that anyone in life is exposed to something, it becomes of a natural feeling. And when you have to force someone to doing anything, especially children, they don't want to do it. So I think
and they won't listen when you tell them to do it.
Being neutral is the greatest tool that you have when you're a parent in general. I think if they get a whiff, mum wants me to do this, I'm not going to do it. And the other way around, I think being neutral is probably the best way to have an approach towards children and healthy eating.
Great advice. I'll have to remember that one if I bring kids into this world one day. I'd have to go through that. Steph, obviously you, as we said, wear a lot of hats. You've done a lot of incredible work. But one of the most meaningful parts of your work is Beyond the Boundary, an autism awareness organisation that you founded with your partner, Dean.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about how that started?
Yeah, so, I would love to give like a beautiful, motivating reason why that started, but unfortunately, with the reality of having a child who is neurodiverse, it's unfortunate that you're placed in situations where people haven't got the education or understanding around autism and neurodiversity. It took a couple of meltdowns in public for Dean and I to turn around and just be quite fed up. You feel really exhausted and emotionally broken when people are looking at you and judging you as a parent because they're not understanding that your child's not actually misbehaving. They're having sensory overload and they are having a moment that they cannot control, and all you can do as a parent is sit alongside them and help them get through it. And I think having that continuous judgment was a driving force for us to start something and advocate for not only my beautiful son, our other kids out there that need, to be heard.
Absolutely. What sort of services or programs do you offer to parents and families in the community?
So ultimately we are an awareness platform and we share obviously our own experiences. We were running all last year a soccer program, which was really, really great and really successful. We absolutely loved every minute of that. It was the most rewarding thing. We have lots of things in the pipelines for Beyond the Boundary for the bottom half of this year, and some exciting projects coming up soon and next year as well. So we're working on all things behind the scenes now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You talk about the education piece, which is so true because I don't think enough people actually really understand. So what are some common misconceptions about autism that you'd love to correct? Because we spoke a bit earlier about the lack of awareness and education.
Yeah.
What would be your message to people?
I think most importantly, I think people just need to broaden their education as a whole. I think that kids on the spectrum or, neurodiverse people have to work so hard to fit into a world that's not built for them. And they spend so much time, like I've taken Rio to so many things to try and, make him be able to sit in a classroom and, not have a meltdown and I can't do that anymore. Like he is who he is. But I mean, he's spent so much of his small life and short life having to fit into a model that's not built for him. And I think the least that everyone can do is have a little bit more awareness and maybe a bit more acceptance around the fact that maybe a child's not misbehaving, maybe there is an underlying cause for their behaviour, and it's just that the world can feel too much for them sometimes, and to go easy on their parents because we're just trying our best too.
Yeah, absolutely. My mum, it's interesting we talk about this because my mum was a teacher's aide, but she worked at a special needs school, and so she's worked with a lot of neurodiverse kids, and one of the things that she often told me is that they are some of the most intelligent and smartest and brightest kids. And
I advocate for that.
Yeah.
I think this, and I think that's something that I advocate for the most. And I know that, obviously Rio is now verbal, but he was nonverbal till he was just before he was 4 years old. And I am his voice. Dean and I are his voice, and his brother Roman are his voice. And I think that the worst part of the stigma around neurodiversity and autism is that people make the assumption that these children or adults aren't capable. And I think that's the part that hurts the most. And I will always advocate for my son because I know what he's capable of, and I will never, ever stop fighting for him. And I know he's amazing and always will be amazing despite of what he ever decides to do, but I will be there fighting for him his entire life if I need to be. And I think that if people had a little bit more awareness and understood, like, you know, just because someone's not speaking doesn't mean that they don't have any comprehension or they're not understanding. I think that's the hardest part for me to see. I think a lot of people speak sometimes in front of my son, for example, as if he's not understanding what they're saying and about him. And I've had to pull him up pretty quickly. Like, you know, he fully understands. He has full comprehension. Just because he's not answering you back doesn't mean that he doesn't know what you're saying. So I think that comes along with awareness as well and education that is really, really necessary.
And you're a strong mama. You're going to fight for your kids.
That's it.
Absolutely. You talk about future plans and next steps for Beyond the Boundary. Can you share anything with us?
I don't know if I'm allowed to. My husband might kill me. We have like a few programs that we're really excited about. We're in the talks of, maybe some music programs. Obviously, Rio in particular loves music, and that's a sense of therapy for him. And I think that obviously, I don't know if you guys know, but my husband used to be a pretty well-known DJ. It's
in the fam.
And he's actually natural, and I don't know, sometimes a bit annoying because all I hear is noise and instruments all the time. But so I think that obviously we're going to work towards a music program, and we are in the works of doing a swim program as well, because obviously that is a huge gap for kids on the spectrum, and being able to have one-on-one lessons and things like that is just unheard of. So we're really working towards that. I'm going to get killed.
Well, parents and anyone in the community, I guess, just watch this space because it sounds like there's amazing things coming up. And where can people find the organisation or find you guys?
Well, obviously we are online. We have our Instagram page, and can we all link that later?
Yes, we can absolutely link it in the show notes.
Beyond the Boundary AU on Instagram, and obviously our website as well. And we have a link to our services, and obviously we'll be posting of our upcoming services as well.
Amazing. Steph, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where every guest has to answer a round of rapid fire Q&A.
Yes.
Are you ready? I have 10 questions for you here.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1, morning workout or sleep in?
Morning workout.
I cannot train in the afternoons after work. I'm a morning workout girly too.
Morning workouts just sets up your day.
100%. What is one song that instantly puts you in a good mood?
Oh, my God. I'm a bit of a metalhead. I really like.
Are you?
Yeah.
I wouldn't pick that about you.
Yeah, I am. I really, really like anything by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Foo Fighters. And
love that.
Yeah.
What is your favourite way to wind down after a long day?
I normally disassociate in the shower, or I hide somewhere where my kids can't find me.
In a dark cupboard.
Yeah.
Are you an oversharer or a keep it close type of person?
I am both. I am very much both. I think I am very much an oversharer, and I will keep to myself when I need to.
Describe your parenting style in 3 words.
It depends on who you ask. I would say I am ethnic, but gentle. I don't know, that mix between.
Yep, I hear you. I understand. I get you. What is the best compliment someone could give you?
That's actually really, I think when people like comment on my character more than anything, I think I'm a really nurturing and caring person, and I have a lot of love to give. So I think when people notice and acknowledge how much I put into everything, I think that's a really nice feeling.
Absolutely. TikTok scroll or Netflix binge?
Oh, I like me Netflix. Yeah. Netflix is great. I'm hanging to watch that Nonnas movie.
Yes.
I think I'm going to go home and watch that.
Someone told me it's really, really good. I know.
People are crying.
Apparently it's really wholesome. It's definitely one to watch. Paw Patrol or Bluey?
Oh, Bluey, any day. I actually cried during Bluey.
Did you?
There was like a sister episode, and I messaged my sister, and she didn't even have a kid yet, and I was like, you need to watch this episode. It's about sisters. And she's like, you are so unhinged.
Love that.
Okay.
Kombucha, love it or hate it?
Oh, I'm in between. I really, really like a flavour, but I can't say I like all of them.
Sure.
But the apple flavour, I'm pretty basic.
I like the apple one too.
I think we just got to keep it simple.
I like the apple one as well. And the last question, bold colours or neutral tones?
Oh, God, can't you tell? I'm definitely not bold. I'm very neutral. If you saw my house as well, it is so neutral. I like colour, but just not on me or in my house.
Steph, thank you so much for an informative and insightful conversation, and thank you for being so honest and raw as well. We loved having you, and I'm sure there's many things that people can take from this conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Episodes will be released every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Smile the Makeover Scoop. As always, please send in any questions you have, guests you want to see on the show, dilemmas. You can send them in to hello@smilethemakeoverscoop.com. We will catch you guys next week for another episode. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you then.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice. Please consult with a professional for specific advice tailored to your situation.